Hey, welcome to Classic Performance, and today we're in beautiful Lugoff, South Carolina, the home of Downforce Motorsports, and we're here today and we're going to be speaking with Dan Long, who's the owner, and we're going to take a look at the Superformance GT40s, the Cobras, the Cobra Daytona, and the Corvette Grand Sport, and what the offerings are from Superformance. And of course we also have a right behind me here, the blue Shelby Continuation Cobra. So let's get to business. And if you watched our last upload, we're in Charlotte with Lee Holman at Holman Moody. So we talked about kind of more the what they think of as the original last builds of the GT40. Now we're going to look at the really the modernization of GT40 production with Superformance and with Dan Long. So let's get to work. All right, so we're here with Dan Long. Dan's the owner of Downforce Motorsports, and Dan, thanks for having us in today. Absolutely. And Dan's going to give us just a little tour around Downforce Motorsports here and the inventory that's here and the Superformance brand. So Dan, tell us a little bit about just the basics of a Superformance GT40, and then we'll talk about the continuation Cobras too.
Sure. You know, Superformance GT40s are very exact. They're given a P chassis number. They're actually fully licensed, and they're built to the exact details. They use a lot of the original tooling and a lot of the original pieces to generate the cars. They're built just as they were in the 60s. They use a dual pressed steel center section, and it uses the original monocoque style chassis. The car we're looking at here is a replica of the third place car from Le Mans, the Holman Moody number 5 car. And you know, a customer can do a lot of different things. They can do an exact livery like you see here. They can do something a bit more modern like the Sunset Red car. And you know, the options are kind of endless as far as what they can do. They can do something very original or you know, a bit more modern style.
Mm-hmm. And this car right here is exact to the era in terms of its drivetrain and that sort of thing.
This customer is wanting to do it as original as possible. He's not putting an FE big block in it, but he is putting a small block Ford stroke to 427, and that's a very popular option. I would say the vast majority of our customers, they do the 427 stroker motor. It's lighter, makes just as much horsepower, it's a little easier to maintain, it's a little more user-friendly as far as drivability goes.
So this is not a dry sump motor like the originals. No. So you've got fuel in the sides as the originals.
Yeah, they do have the dual fuel tanks on them. The tanks are down, 2 10-gallon tanks with the crossover tube. You know, the original crossover tube was inside the cabin. You know, there wasn't a whole lot of thought about safety back in the 60s. Superformance has relocated that for safety features, but then there's some other things that make it drivable. You know, the car actually, instead of having a dry sump fuel system in it, or excuse me, dry sump oil system in it, it has air conditioning in place of that up front. We do have some customers who will vintage race the cars because they will qualify for vintage racing when you do period correct engines in them, so a customer can still run dry sump oil tanks and, you know, a few other things of that nature. On the interiors, we can do one of two things. We can do an original style right-hand drive with a right-hand sill shifter, as this car has been opted into, or we can do a left-hand drive car, which we have a couple of those here. The dash configuration is very original. The seats are original style. You can do them in a standard Alcantara. This car has been opted into leather. When you do our tribute car, you can get the original parachute style material that they use in the 60s. To keep the dash design integrity intact, even though the car runs air conditioning, the air conditioning controls and the HVAC are all hidden down here in the doors. So you still get that original style feel, but with some modern flares and comfort.
So this is the Ken Miles Daytona car.
Yeah, so this is the first Ken Miles Daytona livery ever done. There's one other car that's been produced, which is going to Wayne Taylor Racing. So this is a livery that hasn't been done. I was originally looking to have a demo car, and we were going to do the Ken Miles Le Mans paint scheme, but that has gotten real popular, so I wanted something different, and we came up with the idea of doing the Daytona paint scheme that hadn't been done before, so it was a unique opportunity to do a car that had a lot of pedigree but hadn't been seen before. And then a few other things, instead of doing right-hand drive, we did left-hand drive in this car. When you do a left-hand drive seat, It's a little wider because the space we gained from taking the sill shifter out and putting the shifter in the center, we put into the driver's seat. So the driver's seat's a little bit more comfortable on a left-hand drive car. This one is kind of a mixture. It really shows the concept of a pro touring GT40, and it launched our Illuminator series. We're the company that, the dealership that came up with the idea of putting these modern Illuminator motors into the GT40s. This makes 640 horsepower with the few modifications that we've made to it. We've done the 8-stack fuel injection on top of it to give it a vintage look when it's all buttoned up, but the car will rev to 8,500. It will idle at about 800, and it gives more drivability. It's no different than the guy who takes like a 69 Camaro and puts an LS motor in it. It was the same kind of concept, and it was the same kind of idea. You know, we still do a full bundle of snake headers. This installation was done by Lugoff Racing, who's been building the cars for, you know, decades now. And the engineering was well done. It's been a real popular option. So we've sold a lot of GT40s, and the guys are opting into the modern drivetrain. They still want the vintage look of the car, but then they want the modern drivability of it. Again, it just goes back to that pro touring, you know, mindset. And that's what we did here, and it's been a good concept for us, and it's launching us into some new ideas that we're going to debut at SEMA this year. And we're excited about what this car has done for us, and where it's going to start taking us with some other ideas that we're going to put out there.
So Dan, give us a few specifics about what an Illuminator is.
The Ford Illuminator 5.2 XS, it's actually a crate motor. You can get it directly from Ford. It comes out of the box with 580 horsepower. It uses the GT350 Shelby Mustang 5.2 block, uses the 5.2 cylinder heads, but then instead of having a flat plane crank like everybody expects on the Voodoo motor, it uses a forged internal cross plane crank. It still has lots of revs in it, but then it eliminates the vibration problems and stuff like that that you have with the Voodoo motor. So it's a Ford crate motor, and you can either take it out of the box and put it right in with the Cobra Jet air intake system, which we've done before, or you can do something like this with the Borla 8-stack fuel injection. Makes great power, sounds phenomenal, and you know, it gives good drivability too.
So tell us a little bit about the bundle of snake exhaust system here. I know it looks like it's titanium, but it's not.
Yeah, one of the hurdles we had to get over when we put in the 5.2 Illuminator engine into a GT40 is no one had an exhaust system for it. When you order a GT40 from the factory, if you order an FE big block, if you order a small block setup or whatever, they come with bundle of snake headers like the original style was. But when we did this, we had to come up with our own setup. So we worked with Lugoff Racing. We knew we wanted an original style bundle of snakes headers. This is actually made out of stainless steel, and it is a complete 180-degree header setup. It has actually patinaed to this color, and there's no hot spots on it. A lot of people look at it and they think it's titanium because there's no hot spots, but it goes into the effectiveness of the 180-degree bundle of snake setup, and it works very well. The car sounds great, and it actually is a complete straight pipe setup. And you would think that would be really obnoxiously loud, but with the 180-degree crossover, it makes a great sound. And it's something we're very proud of, and something we're going into production with. So it'll give people the opportunity, if they buy a Superformance car and they want to put one of these motors in, we'll have the ability to get them the header system that they need to make it work.
And lastly, on the GT40s, Dan, tell us a little bit about the Sebring Orange GT40.
This car just came in. It was specially ordered by a customer who picked out this color. We kind of steered him. He wanted it orange, so we kind of steered him towards this. This is actually a C8 color. This is Sebring Orange Metallic. And it shows the complete opposite of the number 5 car that we looked at earlier, where someone can do very vintage looking. This is more of a modern look. We're finding a lot of customers who are getting out of their McLarens and Lamborghinis or Ferraris, or adding a GT40 to that collection, and they want more of a modern look. One of the other things that we've done with this car to modernize it is this is wearing a set of our Downforce Motorsports exclusive wheel and tire sets. So these are 18 inches in the front, 19 inches in the rear, but this still uses the complete knockoff setup from the factory, and it gives the customer the ability to get more modern tires on the car. All of our cars were having a hard time with keeping 15-inch wheels and tires on it. I mean, they just don't make very many wheels, tires, especially in 15 inches. So this gives the customer the ability to get into a modern tire, get into a more diverse selection of tires. So we do an 18-inch package all the way around, or we do an optional 19-inch setup in the back. When we put these on, we can put a 325 on the back, and then when we do the Mark 1 extra wide body, I can actually put a 355 on the back. So it gives a really wide and aggressive stance for it, and take advantage of you know, the handling characteristics of the car. This is one of the cars that generates the question the most. What is it? Because there was only 6 ever built originally. This is actually a Generation 1 car. So this has a few small changes that were made to the Generation 2 car. You notice this car doesn't have any door handles. It has more of a flat wheel on it. We made some suspension adjustments on a Generation 2 car. But it still was designed by the original designer who came up with the original Daytona Coupe, and that was Peter Brock. So it's a lot of people refer to it as the Daytona Coupe, or when it comes to the Superformance, they refer to it as the Brock Coupe. But we do offer that, and we find a lot of customers when they've enjoyed a Cobra for a while, but then they want air conditioning, they want heat, they don't have to worry about it getting rained on and things like that. They move into a Daytona Coupe, or they move into a GT40 or a Corvette Grand Sport, which we have one of those as well. So this is one of the older cars. This is actually chassis number 114. This guy has enjoyed it, and he has traded it in, and he's moved into a GT40. But it's a very unique design. You know, again, the aerodynamics that were thought about back in the 60s really kind of ahead of their time, and Peter Brock was really a great mind when he came up with this idea. So it's a fun car. It's a very unique looking car, and again, it's probably the car that confuses people the most. I've been asked, is it a Jaguar? Is it an old Ferrari? Is it an Aston Martin? No one ever gets it right unless they know what they're looking at. So fun car, great driving car. It's got a very unique chassis to it, and it's a great driving and handling car. We're actually going to take it out this weekend to an event, and we're looking forward to it.
So tell us a little bit about the Superformance Cobras, and I know down on the end down there, and we'll get to this in just a second, we've got the Shelby Continuation Cobra down here, but we're going to start here, and we'll actually start right over here. And
this is a brand new rolling chassis. This is how we get the cars from the factory. We can do, again, traditional build, or we'll go over to the gray car here in a minute, and we'll show you a bit more of a modern setup. But we can get it very traditional. So it comes with the original style 15-inch Halbrand wheels. It comes with a very original and authentic looking interior, soft top, tonneau cover. Those are all options that can be put into the car. We can do an original style wood wheel, or we can also do a leather steering wheel. So the cars come from the factory basically 100% done. It just needs an engine, a drivetrain, installation in it. But other than that, the cars come very complete. They do come with the corresponding exhaust system that the customer is going to end up putting in. That's one of the things we ask when we order the car. We can do these in a SC package like this with the side pipes. We can do them with a rear exit exhaust, like a Roadster style. But this is basically a very traditional looking setup. The iconic blue and white. From there, you move into this black car, which is an older chassis, but you can see how well the cars, due to their quality, how well they age. This car is actually about 16 years old and has been well driven. It's got a 557 cubic inch big block in it. So it shows the diversity of chassis. We can put in small block, big block. Again, the Illuminator series motors can fit into these, the Coyotes. So there's a lot of different things we can do. But this car, they age very well because of their build quality. You can see by the door gaps and the hood gaps and things like that, nothing out of alignment. Nothing is tweaked over time. And then from there, again, it's kind of the same concept as the GT40s. We go into what this gray car is. This is a more modern styled Cobra. Now, this is actually done in a GM color because with Superformance, we don't have a set number of colors. We can actually do just about any color you want, as long as you can do one of two things. Either give us the paint code or tell us the year, make, and model the color came off of. This, for example, is painted in GM satin steel metallic. That's a color you find on a Tahoe. And we just thought it would look good on a Cobra. And then it's finished with carbon flash stripes, which are found in the new Corvettes. And then this car has no chrome on it. This has a blackout package, the gas cap, all the trimmings on it, the windshield, everything is blacked out. This also features our optional Speed Hut electronic gauge cluster. They still have an original style to them with the reverse spin speedometer, but they're modernized. They light up like a modern gauge. They're a bit more user-friendly. And this car is going to get one of our new Illuminator-based motors in it when it gets finished out and debuted at SEMA. So again, this one wears 18-inch wheels, which is an option from the factory compared to the standard 15-inch wheels. So again, when a customer comes in, they can really let us know, what do they want? How do they want the car to be styled? What do they want to do with the car? Which will kind of lead us in a direction to recommend powertrain choices for them. And then it goes from us as a rolling chassis to an installer, one of our authorized installers, and we use Olthoff a lot for our stuff because he's been doing it for so long. And the car gets built out, and then they have a complete car after the purchase.
So unlike the Cobras in the back, this one here is a little bit different.
It is a little different. This is an actual CSX Shelby Cobra. So it comes with the CSX 6000 series chassis number. But it's actually, well, a lot of people don't know, it's built by Superformance. So they built it in the same assembly factory as the Superformance cars. We're licensed by Shelby for the other cars, but this is an actual CSX Shelby Cobra. It's issued a CSX VIN number from Shelby American, and it is about as original as they can get. They come in the same setup. They do come from us as a rolling chassis, but the vast majority of people, when they take this step to get into the CSX, they usually do what this customer's done. They put in an original style FE motor in it. It has the diversity of putting other engines in it, but with this particular chassis, we usually find customers are doing it for the originality, the prestige and the heritage of the car, so they put an original style motor in it. Some people even go the further step and they'll buy a Shelby motor from Shelby American and then put the two together. But there's some subtle differences between this car and the Superformance. Unless you really had them sit next to each other, it's kind of hard to tell. The average person won't notice the difference. The chassis is the big thing. This uses the original style tube chassis, where the Superformance uses a box, 2x4 box chassis setup in it. Other than that, like I say, this is about as original as they can possibly get.
And these are kind of the original style reservoirs here too.
Yep.
And lastly, we're going to finish up over here with the Corvette Daytona. With this, I guess this would be, was it a 63 or
63?
63.
So this was the car that General Motors came up with to combat the Cobras. You know, Corvettes were much bigger and much heavier. So Zora Arkus-Duntov, who was the godfather of the Corvette essentially, he came up with what he dubbed the lightweight. And what a lot of people don't know, and you really don't tell until you get this next to an original C2 Corvette, 63 through 67. This is built on a 7/8 scale, and that was done to save some weight. And then it uses an original 4-inch tubular style chassis. This car is actually licensed by General Motors, and it is a big feat that Superformance was able to accomplish to get the car licensed. And it is a very original, appearing car, but it's like the Cobras. We find customers will do everything from an original style small block. They'll put big block Chevys in it. They'll put LS motors. This one has got an 8-stack LS motor in it. They'll put even the new modern LT motors in it. The cars come with power windows and air conditioning, so you get some creature comforts out of it. But it's a unique car, and it's a lot of fun. This particular car was actually on Jay Leno's garage. Jay Leno actually drove this exact car. So it's something that we're not very well known for, but the Corvettes are starting to get a lot more popular these days. And it goes back to the same thing. Some people will get into this either because they're a Corvette lover, or they're getting out of a Cobra and they want air conditioning and a fixed roof and things like that. So it's a different customer, but it's also blends right in with the other products that we offer from the 60s. And it's a 60s icon.
So that's a look around of what's here at Superformance in Lugoff, South Carolina. I want to thank Dan Long for having us in today and giving us a wonderful tour of everything here. I learned a lot. I hope you did too. And if you're in the Lugoff area, stop in and see Dan, make a call, get an appointment. And if you're not from the area, hey, it's worth a drive over here. So we're going to come back here to Superformance in a few days, and you're going to take us out in this Ken Miles GT.
We'll get you out in the Ken Miles car and
Oh
experience
my gosh,
what the Illuminator really does.
Oh my gosh. So anyway, hey, if you like the content, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and stay tuned because we're coming back and we're going to hit the road in the Ken Miles Daytona GT40 with the Illuminator motor that you just learned about. So take care. Have a great day.